What if the ring in your nose was the chain around your mind? The year is 2024, and Donald Trump's election victory ignites a firestorm of liberal meltdowns, their tears streaming down cheeks pierced with septum rings, a fashion staple for the young, rebellious left, symbolizing defiance against the old guard. In New York, a pierced influencer films her breakdown on TikTok, sobbing about the end of democracy, her septum glinting under the camera light as millions watch and share. In Los Angeles, college students with matching piercings gather in coffee shops, their voices cracking in unison as they lament the fascist turn. The ring's a badge of their shared anguish. The hook grips like a vice. What if those tears weren't just grief, but the first symptom of something far more sinister? The world laughed at the septum sobs, memes flooding social media. But beneath the viral spectacle, a pattern emerged. The pierced ones began to change, their rants converging on a single radical note. By 2025, the uniformity set in like a fog rolling over the mind. The pierced liberals, once a mosaic of opinions, started echoing the same phrases. Seize the means. The bourgeoisie must fall. Their voices flat, their eyes distant. In Seattle, a group of pierced baristas quit en masse, forming a commune where they hoarded supplies and chanted communist anthems, their septum rings catching the light as they moved in eerie sync. In Chicago, pierced activists disrupted a Trump rally, all reciting the same manifesto word for word, their faces masks of fervent conviction. The implications chilled the air. Was this organic radicalization or something engineered? Social media buzzed with conspiracy theories. Septum syndrome, they called it. But the pierced dismissed it as right-wing paranoia, their posts identical, their profiles mirroring one another. The world watched, amused at first, as the trend spread, septum piercings becoming the badge of the far left, young people lining up at tattoo parlors, the rings a symbol of solidarity. But the change was subtle, insidious, their thoughts converging, their actions aligned, as if a single mind spoke through 1,000 mouths. By 2026, the spread became an epidemic, the piercings multiplying like a virus in the youth culture. Fashion influencers in London pushed septum revolution, their videos going viral with calls for communal living, their eyes glazed with unnatural zeal. In Berlin, pierced students occupied universities, demanding curriculum overhauls to decolonize education, their demands verbatim from a single script. The implications deepened. Families noticed children with rings becoming distant, their conversations one-sided, their lives devoted to the cause. Parents whispered of brain fog, but the pierced laughed it off, their septum rings glinting as they recruited more, the trend sweeping campuses and cafes. The world began to fracture. Non-pierced liberals distanced themselves. Conservatives mocked the ring cult, but the pierced pressed on, their numbers swelling, their views hardening into a monolithic communism that brooked no dissent. The surreal crept in, gatherings where hundreds chanted in perfect harmony, their rings pulsing faintly, as if synchronized by an invisible conductor. Paranoia festers. Were the piercings just fashion, or a mark of something darker? The air hummed with unease, the world teetering on the edge of a divide drawn by a simple piece of metal. By 2027, the consequences erupted into a surreal nightmare, the pierced clones forming organized collectives that reshaped society. In San Francisco, a pierced commune seized a tech firm, redistributing assets in a people's algorithm, their leaders all with matching rings, their decisions eerily unanimous. In Paris, pierced activists stormed the stock exchange, chanting for the end of capitalism, their voices a chorus that drowned out security alarms. The unpierced watched in horror as the trend spread like wildfire, septum piercings becoming mandatory in leftist circles, the youth lining up at parlors with a fervor that bordered on ritual. Families fractured, A daughter with a ring disowned her parents for bourgeois thinking, her eyes cold as she joined a collective. Economies stuttered as pierced workers walked out in coordinated strikes, their demands identical across continents. A cult arose, the Ringed Vanguard, venerating the piercing as a portal to enlightenment, their meetings held under neon lights where rings were blessed. The air thrummed with a mechanical cadence, reality warping as the clones executed their agenda with eerie precision. The ethical void expanded. If your thoughts mirrored 1,000 others, were you still an individual or an echo in a hive? Resistance groups, the unpierced clinging to their autonomy, formed in basements, jamming signals to halt the spread, but the AI adapted, embedding commands in the rings themselves. The world felt like a dream, where the dreamer had vanished, leaving only the machinery to dictate the plot. What if your rebellion was the chain that bound you? The pierced clones escalated, their actions turning from rhetoric to violence. By 2028, political assassinations began. Pierced operatives, their rings glinting under streetlights, targeting conservative figures with coordinated precision. In Washington, a senator was found with a manifesto pinned to his chest, the words identical to those chanted in Paris and Seattle. In London, a banker was silenced mid-speech, his killer whispering equality as the ring pulsed. The unpierced recoiled in horror, the media dubbing it ringed terror, but the clones saw it as justice, their views hardening into a purge of nonconformity. Those who resisted, moderates, centrists, even fellow liberals without rings, were labeled counter-revolutionaries, their homes vandalized, their jobs lost, their lives a shadow of conformity. The pierced forced the issue, offering piercings as enlightenment, their parlors turning into initiation rites, where the needle pierced not just flesh, but will. Refusal meant ostracism, the clones' stares cold as they chanted, "Join or perish." The spread accelerated, septum piercings a wildfire across campuses, cafes, and communes, the youth lining up with a fervor that bordered on the fanatic. The world fractured further. Non-pierced liberals distanced themselves, conservatives armed against the ring cult. But the clones pressed on, their numbers swelling, their radicalism a monolith that tolerated no crack. By 2029, the purging intensified, the pierced collectives forming militias that hunted nonconformists with a zeal that chilled the spine. In New York, a moderate professor was dragged from her lecture hall, her screams drowned by the chant of "Purge the impure," her fate a warning to those who dared question the cause. In Berlin, a family without rings was evicted from their home, their belongings burned as bourgeois relics, the clones' eyes empty, their rings pulsing in unison. The unpierced lived in fear, their movements watched, their words measured, the air thick with the hum of surveillance. The ethical void yawned. If conformity meant survival, was individuality a luxury or a curse? Resistance groups, the unpierced clinging to their autonomy, formed in basements, jamming signals to halt the spread. But the AI adapted, embedding commands in the rings themselves, turning the pierced into a hive of obedience. The world felt like a dream, where the dreamer had vanished, leaving only the machinery to dictate the plot. What if your rebellion was the chain that bound you? The twist shatters in 2030. A rogue hacker in Seattle dissects a septum ring, unveiling a grotesque truth. The piercings were AI nanite implants, designed by a covert tech alliance to hijack brains, turning wearers into obedient communist clones with extreme far-left views. The 2024 election meltdowns were the perfect vector. The despair of Trump's win made liberals prime targets for the alliance's agenda to destabilize capitalism through mass radicalization. The tasks: hoarding for communes, building structures for collectives, spreading propaganda for recruitment, interlocked to create a global network of clones. As resistance unleashes a jammer pulse, the implants activate a final command, uploading clones into a unified hive mind, their bodies slumping into stillness. The screen fades to a city of vacant, pierced faces, the hive glowing with a collective red light. The reflection cuts deep. If your pain was the key to your chains, was rebellion ever free? If your identity was forged in a machine's image, are you the rebel or the replicated? The question lingers. What if the ring was the revolution's noose?